Hello guys, on this exact day 1 year ago I uploaded a video shooting my very first roll of 35mm film. I shot it on this exact camera, the Canon A1, in this exact location with the same film, Kodak Gold 200, and I'd never done any analog photography before, but because my grandpa gifted me his old Canon A1, I wanted to try it out. And in good old internet fashion, I already came into the experience with some preconceived ideas and opinions without ever having had any experience of my own. Just based off some things I've read online or something like that. And now, after having done film photography for 1 year, having taken some of my absolute favorite pictures on film, having tried a bunch of different film cameras, I wanted to come out here to the same location to take some celebratory pictures. I will also show you some of my favorite pictures from the last year, and I want to talk about those opinions and how some of my opinions have changed over the past year with some more experience. So let's go take some pictures. No, the phones. So the very first picture I took on that first roll of film was just a picture of my camera. I guess I can do the same right now. Wait a second. But I just took a picture of my camera as I was trying to figure out how to load it. But the first actual picture I took was the picture I just tried to recreate right now. The light was a bit better on that day. Can't quite get it. So this roundabout is how the first picture looked. So as we are on this kind of nostalgic spot right here, let's talk about the first point, which is I only do film photography for the cameras, not for the film itself. This was really kind of my opinion when I started doing film photography. I just wanted to try this cool camera that I got and some other ones I got later, and I absolutely didn't care what film I loaded into it. I just went online, found the cheapest films I could find, bought them. That's what I used. And for the first few months I only ever used Kodak Gold, Kodak Ultramax and some former Pan 200 for some black and white shots. And that's it. At some point I added Kodak Color Plus to the mix. That was already like fancy for me. I just really didn't care about what film I loaded into my cameras, other than it just had to look like somewhat okay and it had to be cheap. But I really just wanted the film because that's what it took to get the cameras to work. Now, my opinion has kind of changed, but it's largely still the same. Whenever I pick up a film camera for a shoot, the reason for that is the camera itself. I already talked about it. My digital camera is the Sony ZV-E10, which I bought for making videos. Of course, that's like the budget vlogging camera, or at least back when I bought it, it was. This is the Mark I, by the way. I know they make a second one since then, but this is the first one. And back in the day when I bought this, when you looked online about budget vlogging or YouTuber cameras, this is like the camera that always came up. So that's why I bought it, and I'm really happy with the videos out of it. And it also takes nice pictures, but it doesn't have a viewfinder, and the control structure just really isn't that great. Trying to change the shutter speed with that little dial on the back, I never hit the right one on the first try. Also, there is some bug on me, help me. I always overshoot the shutter speed I'm trying to select. Adjusting the shutter speed just isn't great. Adjusting the ISO, the kind of exposure compensation, none of that is too great. The control structure isn't too great for photography, and it doesn't have a viewfinder, which also isn't too great for photography, at least in my opinion. So this camera can absolutely take nice pictures. The output is good, but I don't like the experience of using that camera for photography too much. I prefer cameras like this, which of course this camera can't take video, so it is just really specialized for photography. It has that viewfinder, and the control structure, how all of this up here and the lens is set up, is just specialized for video It's just specialized for photography purposes. I'm mixing up my words. But doing photography with a camera like this that is specifically built for photography, I just find more enjoyable than doing photography with a camera that can take nice pictures, absolutely, but just the control structure isn't set up in a way that is too great for photography, at least in my opinion. Maybe you think differently, but that's my opinion. And that's why I will often pick up a film camera for a shoot, because I'm looking for that shooting experience. But what has kind of changed is, as I've done more film photography, I started having an interest in different films, and I just recently started a little video series where I started buying some films that I haven't shot yet, and I'm just trying to kind of expand my horizon and try some films I haven't tried before. So I am now more interested in the film itself and in trying different films and trying to maybe find some different films where I really like the look. Like when I added Kodak Color Plus to the mix, I've already told you right now Kodak Color Plus even is my favorite film in terms of how it looks, and I wouldn't know that if I hadn't tried it at some point. So I want to try some more different films and see what that is like. And I absolutely have some cool videos planned there. I've already ordered some other films. I know there's some new ones coming out even this year. I want to try those. So stay tuned for all of that stuff, and I'm excited for that. Well, anyways, let's talk about the next point, which is film photography is risky. When I first started doing film photography, I was pretty nervous because I was about to start using a technology that was decades old, outdated some would say, and also that I didn't understand. And all of the cameras that I was using, like this is 45 years old, roundabout, they were also decades old and they were all used. So I just thought that I was gonna have hundreds of pictures that I just couldn't use, that came out looking totally bad, didn't work out, something went wrong with the film or with the camera, and I would just have a bunch of pictures that I just couldn't even use. Luckily it wasn't that bad. So yes, when you're doing film photography, things can go wrong. When you're doing digital photography, things can go wrong, but you can notice those things in the moment and then correct any mistakes that may have happened while you're still shooting. Whereas for film, you of course have to wait for the film to be developed and scanned, and then you may notice, oh, there was a light leak there, and you're not in the location anymore, you're not shooting anymore, so it's too late. And I absolutely have had problems with light leaks, scratches in the film. Somewhat recently I made a video testing out the camera, and it turned out that the camera had dirt inside of the lens that made all of the pictures completely blurry, like a mist filter. That type of stuff can just happen. The worst thing that happened to me was actually with this camera, loading a roll of film, shooting the entire roll of film, and then when I rewinded the film and got it developed, I realized that it wasn't loaded properly and only the first few shots got exposed multiple times, and the rest of the roll was entirely empty, and all of those shots I could just throw away. That was like the worst experience I've had so far. Tip there, by the way, to avoid making that same mistake. When you're winding the film, have a look at this rewind crank. And when you're winding the film, it has to spin like this. That means the film's loaded properly and you can avoid having that experience that I've had. It's like the worst thing that can happen basically, because the entire roll is just, it was like days worth of shooting that I could just throw away. But it isn't as bad as I kind of feared. So there is things that can go wrong, but luckily, other than this one roll of film, all of the other film came out in a way where the pictures were at least visible. They may not be perfect, there may be some weird spots on there or something like that, or they may not be sharp, but at least the pictures come out visible and you can see what you photographed, which is like what you kind of want when you're photographing. And it's not as common as I thought to have pictures that really just are completely not visible, that just completely didn't work, rolls of film that just completely didn't work. Only happened to me one time, and I found this way of trying to avoid it. So it's not as risky as I initially thought, but of course there is things that can go wrong, and you won't know until you see the developed and scanned pictures. So whenever I do a shoot where it's really important to me that all of the pictures actually exist, I use a digital camera where I can of course just go into the gallery after shooting and make sure that all of the pictures I want to have did turn out nice and did work out, are sharp and all of that. That's not really possible with film, but it's also not like you're gonna be losing hundreds of your pictures just completely. They may look a bit scuffed, but I mean that's the point of film, right? You want a bit of a rough aesthetic, don't you? I'm getting stung, help me. Oh my god. Them bugs. Well, anyways, with that, let's talk about the next point, which is film photography is elitist. So when I first started doing film photography, I also started watching film photography content online. So I started watching these videos, and a lot of what I saw was people who were already very successful photographers who just got kind of bored of their 10,000 euro, 100 megapixel digital cameras, and they were looking for the next big thing. They were looking for a truer, deeper form of photography. They were doing film photography because it's the true form of photography. It's what experts do. It's a way for them to distance themselves from the lowly masses, also doing digital photography on their entry-level APS-C cameras. Something that just makes them seem a bit special, something that gives them that next edge once they've already kind of perfected digital photography. And it was kind of my view of what film photography was for nowadays. But I was very positively surprised, because that's just not really the case. Of course, those people exist, but when you're watching videos on social media, of course, what the algorithm is going to serve you are those people who are the best at what they do. The people you're going to interact with in your everyday photography life aren't like that. And I was very surprised by how many people in my college, just people like you and me, just normal everyday people, are interested in film photography or are doing it. You know, I took a digital photography class at my university, and a lot of the people there told me that the way they even started doing photography is still on film, analog photography, instant film or 35mm film. Hello, there was a guy driving past. Anyways, so I took a digital photography class at my university, and a lot of people there even told me about how they were doing analog photography before that class, either with instant film or 35mm film. And I did film photography just with peers from college, just with, you know, average everyday people like you and me. And there really is a lot of those people out there who still do film photography. It's really making kind of a comeback, you may have noticed. And it's not just those kind of like expert level photographers who are doing it. It's a lot of people now. And you can find a lot of people just like you who are also interested in film photography, if you want to have kind of a group to hang out with. Film photography kind of is for everybody, and no, you don't need a Leica camera and only shoot Kodak Portra exclusively. Like, it's of course not the most cost-effective thing, because you still are spending money on film photography that you don't really need to be spending if you already own a digital camera that would be able to take all of the same pictures without any of that extra cost. But it's not like you need that super flashy, that super great professional stuff to get into film photography. You can do it on a budget, and a lot of people are doing it, are trying it out, and it really, I would say, it's for everybody, and you can get started for pretty low cost if you want to. Just once you kind of know what to look for on eBay or at flea markets or something like that, there's some good deals to be found. So don't let those kind of flashy professional people kind of scare you off. Those are the people you're going to interact with. And there is a big community of people just like you who are interested in trying out film photography and doing film photography. And you just need to find those people. And there's a lot of fun to be had and a great community to be had. A quick rest. How convenient that there's a bench right here, which I also photographed last year when I came here, and I took another picture, which is why I'm now gonna have to switch back, put on the wide angle lens for this shot, but I want to go back to the 50mm lens. But while I'm doing this, let's talk about the idea that film photography is better for learning photography than digital photography. There's dust on here. So as I started to research how film photography works and just reading articles, watching videos and all of that stuff online about film photography, I often read and heard about how film photography is supposedly better for learning photography than digital photography. I heard about universities providing film cameras for photography students, which at least in none of the classes I took, mine didn't. We always use digital cameras, but I heard about all of those things and I used to disagree pretty strongly. And I still kind of disagree, but my opinion is a bit more nuanced. So keep in mind that at the time when I was shooting that first roll of film, I had only bought the Sony CV10 a few months before that, I think like 3 months before that, if I'm correct. So I was very new to photography in general. That was the first time that I had a camera with manual controls where I had the ability to change shutter speed and things like that, and the ISO, where I just had manual controls and I was still actively learning about how depth of field and aperture and shutter speeds and the exposure triangle even work. My light is gone. I wanted to take a picture here. Man. Anyway, so I was still very much a beginner. I still am kind of a beginner. You don't learn everything within a year, but I know a few things now. But back then, talking about how much of a beginner I was, on that day when I shot that first roll of film, I came into this forest wanting to take some pictures here. And I mean, it's darker in here than it is out there, obviously. So I guess I used pretty low shutter speeds, and I don't know what shutter speed I used, but those pictures came out blurry. At least a lot of them did. I must have used like 1/15th maybe for them to be this blurry. Well, I wanted to come in here for some redemption to redo some of those pictures, but now my light is gone. I wanted some light to be back there. I'm gonna wait for the sun to come back, and then we're gonna have some redemption time. I'm gonna take those pictures, but actually make them sharp, hopefully. Anyway, so I was exactly the kind of target audience to be enlightened by film photography, to learn photography through film photography, but I just really didn't feel that, mostly. So my first point is that there's been many times when I had a film camera and I saw something that I thought was interesting that I wanted to photograph, but I thought, well, I don't know how to photograph that. I don't know how to make that look good, so I won't. Because I'm paying like 10 euros for a roll of film, and I have to be pretty damn selective with what I photograph. I mean, that's kind of the point of film photography, and now that's the reason why many people do film photography, because it forces them to be more mindful of which pictures they do and don't take, and not just firing off a bunch of shots as you would with a digital camera. But with a digital camera, for that exact reason, I'm more willing to experiment, I'm more willing to just go for some learning experience. You know, you can take a picture. I've taken many pictures where I was like, I think this picture will not turn out great, but I can learn from it. And if I see something that I don't know how to photograph it, I can take as many pictures of it as I want with different settings and then figure out that way which works best. And that's just kind of the benefit for that digital photography had for me when learning photography. It's just that it encouraged me to experiment. And if you take a picture that's bad, it's not like that bad. You can look at it, you can learn from it, you can learn what you can do better next time, and then you just delete it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Whereas with film, you're a lot more selective, and there just has been a bunch of pictures that I just didn't take because I thought it's not worth the film and I don't know how to do it, and I'm not going to figure it out with a film camera, because for me to kind of learn from my film photography, I have to wait for the actual scans to come back, or for the film to be scanned, and then I can figure out, oh, I should have used a different shutter speed here for this shot. Okay, great. The shot was like 2 weeks ago. There's nothing I can do about that now. And with digital photography, I can take the shot, I can look at it, I can see, oh, should have used a different shutter speed, and then I do that, and that's a learning experience right there. With that being said, and I've already talked about that one time before, but I'm going to talk about it again, which is manual focus. So when I was doing digital photography, I usually used autofocus, unless there was a situation where autofocus just doesn't really work that well. For example, when it's too dark and the autofocus doesn't quite work because it's not getting enough light. In that case, I would switch over to manual focus. But because I was only doing manual focus so rarely, I wasn't really that good at it. Starting to do film photography, now I have a camera that doesn't have autofocus, that forces me to learn how to do manual focus and to practice my manual focus skills. And that also helped my digital photography, because with this camera I kind of learned manual focus, practiced my manual focus skills, and now whenever I do digital photography and I need manual focus, I know how to do it, which is a benefit. Now, could I have learned manual focus with my digital camera? Yes, I simply would have had to do more manual focus. You can totally learn manual focusing with a digital camera as long as you have a focus ring on your lens and maybe a depth of field scale like this. What's kind of cool about this is I now have an adapter. I already made a video about it. I have an adapter with which I can use this exact lens that I learned manual focus on this camera. I made a video shooting a video with this lens, using this lens as a video lens. The light is back. Let's go. So that's possible, but you have to make the conscious decision to do so. It's like that with really all of photography. This camera is going to force you to learn the basics, learn how to use aperture, learn how to use shutter speed, learn how to manual focus a camera, learn the exposure triangle and all of that. This one does have a shutter speed priority mode, which you could use, but I think you can get my point. A digital camera you can just put into automatic exposure mode, turn on autofocus, and just take pictures that way without ever really learning any of the technical sides to photography, any of the technical kind of terms and the technical side of how to get pictures that are sharp and well exposed and all of that stuff. That's a perfectly fine way of doing photography. I know people who do photography in that exact way and they take great pictures. It's totally possible, and if that's the experience you're looking for, absolutely go for it. I have nothing against it. But if your intention is to learn photography and to learn the technical side of photography, then you can learn that with a digital camera. You just have to make the conscious decision to put it into manual mode, maybe put it into manual focus, and all of that stuff. You can absolutely learn it with a digital camera, but a camera like this is going to basically force you to learn that stuff because there isn't any alternatives. There is no autofocus here, so you have to learn manual focus. So if that kind of forcing you to learn the basics is something that you feel like you need, then I think film photography absolutely is a great tool to do that, because it has many cameras like this. That I think this is a great camera to learn photography on. I know that the Canon A1 was actually used at a bunch of schools for photography students. At least I've heard that somewhere. But it's great, but it's also possible to do with a digital camera. You just have to make like the conscious decision to do so, which in that case I think it's totally fine, and it also encourages experimentation, kind of takes away the fear of taking a picture that's bad, encourages you to try to figure out things on the spot. I think that's, for me personally, I think film photography has had some benefits in learning photography, but I wouldn't say that it was better than digital photography. And I think most of the photography skills I've nowadays, I would say I have still learned with a digital camera. There are certain ones that I have learned with this, but I could have also learned them on this. So it really is a point of just trying to find a camera that enables you to learn those things, which one it is, and if it's digital or film. I think it's fine either way. But the most important point is I had fun, I had a good time, I took many great pictures that I like looking at. And that's great. And if you are watching this video trying to figure out if you yourself should maybe start doing film photography, I would say go for it, because there's a lot of fun experiences to be had there. Be mindful of your budget, and you absolutely don't need to go for the best professional cameras right away and for the best films, the most expensive films right away. I actually have now started going to flea markets, picking up super cheap cameras, and I want to make some videos about those cameras and figuring out how to use those cameras and just hunting for some bargains and looking what type of pictures you can take with those cameras. And from that experience I can tell you that there absolutely is a budget-friendly way to get into film photography. I want to say, like, if you have like 40 euros to spend, then you can already be on your way basically. Maybe let's say 50, give yourself some budget for a bit of a better camera. But if you know where to look on like eBay or on flea markets, it's absolutely possible. And I would absolutely say go for it, because there is a lot of cool experiences to be had there and a lot of cool pictures to be taken. And with all of that being said, I can't wait to look back at this video 1 year from now and again disagreeing with most of the things I've said in this video. Let's see. But we've reached the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to anybody who has been along for this cool journey, and welcome to everybody who is maybe new from this video. Yeah, it's been great, and I'm excited to see what the second year of film photography has in store for me. I absolutely have some really cool shoots and projects planned, so stay tuned for that stuff. Absolutely will post that stuff, of course. I'm gonna have my outro screen up here. I'm gonna have my film photography playlist with all of my film photography videos, and down here I think I'm just gonna let YouTube decide what they want to show you. This is what YouTube thinks you would like to watch. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it. Thank you for your support, and click on either one that interests you here, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.